The $1 billion question. Why Porsche isn't in Formula 1? To understand why Porsche isn't in Formula 1, you first have to define what being in F1 would look like. For a global car brand, there are only three realistic routes. Number 1, buy or part buy an existing team as a power unit supplier engine maker for 2026, or number 3, do both at once, engine plus deep team involvement. Porsche's recent attempts show it was mainly interested in Route 3, an engine partnership plus significant influence over the team itself. When Porsche and Red Bull discussed an F1 entry, Porsche stated the premise was always an equal footing partnership including the team, and that this could not be achieved. That equal footing requirement matters because Formula 1 is not just a marketing sticker you place on a car. At the top level, F1 performance comes from two tightly linked systems: the power unit, engine plus hybrid components, and the chassis, aerodynamics, suspension, weight distribution, cooling. If you only control the engine side, your brand image can still take damage if the team's chassis is weak, the strategy is poor, or results are bad. Porsche's statements around the failed Red Bull deal show it was not willing to accept a setup where it would supply technology but have limited control over how the technology is used, or how the overall project is run. Now add the money. People often hear cost cap and assume F1 is suddenly affordable. The cost cap mostly limits team operating spend in season and year to year, but an F1 entry still has giant costs that sit outside or alongside those limits. Buying into a team, building facilities, hiring elite staff, and, if you're making an engine, creating a full power unit program with development, manufacturing, and long-term testing infrastructure. That's why the idea quickly becomes a billion-dollar question for a brand like Porsche. Not because one invoice says $1 billion, but because the total commitment, team stake plus engine program plus multi-year risk, can approach that scale when done seriously. A key detail is that Porsche did not walk away because it didn't like F1. After talks ended, Porsche still described Formula 1 as an attractive environment. The problem was structure. Porsche wanted a partnership model that protected the brand by giving it major control, while Red Bull did not want to give up that level of independence, described publicly as a strategic mismatch after the bid failed. Porsche has competed in Formula 1 before, but never for long, and never in a way that justified permanent involvement. Understanding these past efforts explains why the company treats F1 as a high-risk environment rather than an unfinished chapter. Porsche first entered Formula 1 in the early 1960s as a works constructor, meaning it built both the car and the engine. In 1962, Porsche achieved its only F1 Grand Prix victory. Despite this success, Porsche withdrew immediately afterward. The reason was not performance alone, but efficiency. Formula 1 at that time was rapidly shifting towards lightweight chassis innovation driven by British teams. Porsche's engineering strength was in engines and sports cars, not rapid single-seater chassis evolution. The company concluded that continuing in F1 required sustained spending with diminishing technical relevance to its road cars. That cost-to-benefit mismatch triggered the exit. Porsche returned to Formula 1 in the 1980s, but this time as an engine supplier, not a team owner. The company built a turbocharged V6 engine funded by TAG and used by McLaren. This partnership was extremely successful, winning multiple drivers and constructors championships. However, Porsche itself did not own the team, control the project, or carry the branding risk directly. When rival manufacturers like Honda began spending far more on engine development, Porsche chose not to escalate its investment. Once the TAG-funded program ended, Porsche exited without attempting to stay independently. The most damaging episode came in 1991, when Porsche attempted a low-cost return as an engine supplier using a newly developed V12. The engine was overweight, underpowered, and unreliable. The partner team terminated the deal mid-season. This failure mattered less for results and more for brand perception. Porsche's leadership learned that entering Formula 1 without full technical readiness or control exposes the brand to public failure on a global stage. These three attempts, short-lived success as a constructor, controlled success as a funded supplier, and visible failure as an unprepared supplier, produced a consistent lesson inside Porsche. Formula 1 rewards total system dominance. Partial involvement, limited control, or cost-constrained entry creates reputational downside that outweighs upside. That lesson directly shapes Porsche's modern refusal to enter F1 unless conditions are ideal. Modern Formula 1 markets itself as cost-controlled, but for a new manufacturer entrant like Porsche, the largest expenses happen before the first race and outside the cost cap. To enter Formula 1 seriously, Porsche would need one of two things: ownership of a competitive team or a factory-grade power unit program tied to a top-tier chassis partner. Buying into a front-running team now costs hundreds of millions of dollars because teams are profitable assets, not struggling outfits. Even a partial stake requires long-term financial commitments without guaranteed performance. That alone makes F1 a capital-intensive gamble rather than a flexible racing project. Developing a Formula 1 power unit for the 2026 regulations is another major cost center. A modern F1 power unit is not just an engine. It includes an internal combustion engine, 2 electric motor generators, advanced battery systems, power electronics, and complex control software. Building this ecosystem requires specialized facilities, thousands of test hours, and elite hybrid engineers. While the FIA imposes development restrictions, the startup cost for a new engine manufacturer remains extremely high. Those costs are paid years before any competitive return is possible. Crucially, Porsche compares this investment to alternatives. In endurance racing or Formula E, Porsche can compete for wins at a fraction of F1's entry cost. Those series also allow Porsche to reuse staff, infrastructure, and knowledge across multiple programs. Formula 1 does not. F1 demands a bespoke organization that cannot be easily scaled down or repurposed if results disappoint. There is also financial asymmetry within the Volkswagen Group. Audi has committed to Formula 1 with full ownership and long-term spending. Porsche, as a sister brand, would either duplicate enormous investment or operate in Audi's shadow. From a corporate standpoint, it makes little sense for two brands from the same group to spend billions chasing the same global exposure in the same championship. From Porsche's internal perspective, Formula 1 fails a basic financial test. The expected return, measured in technology transfer, brand reinforcement, and sustainable competitive advantage, is uncertain, while the downside cost is fixed, front-loaded, and enormous. For Porsche, the central obstacle to Formula 1 is not technology or prestige, but control. Porsche's modern motorsport strategy is built around owning outcomes: technical, operational, and reputational. Formula 1 makes that difficult unless a manufacturer controls the entire project. In Formula 1, performance is the product of tightly integrated decisions. Engine architecture affects cooling, cooling affects aerodynamics, aerodynamics affect tire behavior, and tire behavior affects race strategy. If Porsche supplies an engine but does not control the chassis, failures in these areas still reflect on the Porsche's name. From a brand risk standpoint, this is unacceptable. Porsche's leadership has repeatedly signaled that it will not accept a situation where it carries public blame without having final authority over the system that produces results. This explains why Porsche's most advanced F1 negotiations centered on shared ownership, not simple engine supply. Porsche wanted structural guarantees, decision-making power, long-term alignment, and legal ownership protecting its investment. The collapse of talks with Red Bull showed how rare that arrangement is in modern Formula 1. Successful teams value independence as much as funding, and surrendering control threatens their internal culture and speed of decision-making. Porsche prioritized motorsport programs where competition directly supports its road car strategy, technical development, and brand positioning. Formula 1 does not meet those criteria as effectively as other series Porsche is currently involved in. In endurance racing, particularly the World Endurance Championship and IMSA, Porsche competes with prototype and GT cars that emphasize efficiency, durability, hybrid systems, and long-distance performance. These demands closely mirror the engineering challenges Porsche faces in production sports cars. Technologies such as energy recovery, thermal management, lightweight construction, and reliability under sustained load can be transferred directly from endurance racing to road vehicles. Formula 1, by contrast, operates with highly specialized power units and short race distances that limit this kind of crossover. Endurance racing also allows Porsche to compete for overall victories while maintaining full control over car design and race operations. Porsche designs its own prototypes, manages factory teams, and aligns technical direction with long-term product planning. This level of ownership matches Porsche's internal philosophy and minimizes brand risk. In electric racing, Porsche's involvement in Formula E serves a clear strategic purpose. Formula E focuses on battery efficiency, power electronics, regenerative braking, and energy management. Exactly the areas critical to Porsche's electric road cars. The lessons learned feed directly into vehicles like high-performance electric sedans and future hybrid platforms. Formula One's hybrid systems, while advanced, are far less relevant to mass production electric vehicles. Formula E also operates with strict cost controls and standardized components, allowing Porsche to compete at the highest level without exponential spending. This produces a predictable investment model with measurable technical return. Formula One does not offer that balance. Costs remain high while technology transfer remains limited. Finally, Porsche places heavy emphasis on customer racing through GT categories and one-make series. These programs allow private teams and individual drivers to race Porsche-built cars worldwide. This creates revenue, brand loyalty, and direct engagement with Porsche customers. Formula One offers no customer participation model and no pathway that connects the racing product to showroom vehicles. Taken together, these factors explain why Porsche allocates its motorsport budget to endurance racing, Formula E, and GT competition. These series provide control, technical relevance, scalable costs, and direct brand reinforcement, advantages Formula One cannot offer under current conditions.